gentlemen, welcome back to the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast. God damn, I want to not like this show because I'm not on it, but holy shit, do I love it. It's kind of like a drug that you know is bad for you and you don't want to be addicted to it, but yet you can't help yourself from indulging all the time every Thursday at whenever it drops. You can watch this episode and every other episode of the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast in full, now 4K, because I got a new camera. I'm recording out of my home studio, as you can tell. I'm very glad my guest's camera is not in 4K. We are going to really, really level down the resolution when we post this. That way, I don't alienate all my viewers. Anyways, I'm talking about the show Traitors, obviously. We've officially switched gears. No more. Oh, by the way, I'm sorry I referred to the challenge as season 41 4 times last episode. I'm surprised I didn't get a bunch of tweets about it. I was talking about season 40, which is now officially in the rearview mirror. And we have set our sights on a show that has absolutely captivated the viewing public. The number one streamed show on Peacock. I'm talking about the Traitors. They won an Emmy last season, and I would like to take at least 95% of the credit for that, even though it was only on one episode. I managed to win them an Emmy in one episode. Imagine what I would have done if I would have been on two. They say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, and if that's the case, then my next guest is my biggest fan. First, I did House of Villains, then Worst Cooks in America, now The Traitors, and like a dedicated understudy, or as he likes to call, a mentee, he has followed my every move on television like a loyal disciple following in the footsteps of Jesus. But while it may seem like we are walking in the same path, not everything is as it appears, because no matter how closely he follows, the one thing he will never be able to escape is the struggle of being a firecracker, a copper top, ginger snap, little orphan Annie, Satan's little helper, Chester Cheeto, fire crotch, flame cranium, Duracell battery, El Gingerino, Cherry Fro, Spitfire, Copper Kettle, Scarlet Fever, or a Sunlit Sally. So let's give a warm welcome to my guest, the second greatest Bergie to ever be on the Traitors, Mary, the Queen of Scots.
Well, I'm glad to be here. I love just really donating time to help another man's business out if you guys don't know, don't get paid and then just get insulted the entire time to help him spread more and more propaganda.
Oh, dude. How the hell you been, man?
Fantastic.
I know, dude.
Fantastic.
Are you hiding like in your basement or something? Has banishment been that hard?
No, my baby is running around crazy. I was hoping that this would hit on her nap time, but it did not. And so that means she's This is the only room in the house that is guaranteed quiet. It's a spare bedroom. I'm on a bed right now.
One of Wes's greatest skill sets is being able to schedule his naps and his nighttime protocol. So the supplements that he takes to help him sleep, like you said, all hit simultaneously. So you've actually implemented that strategy with your baby as well.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Okay. Loved it. So the kid's Benadryl is about to kick in is what you're saying.
Yeah, let's hope so.
All right. So this was a wild season. It's getting even crazier. We're going to talk about what an absolute chaotic, hot fucking mess the Traitors I didn't think that the Traitors could be literally any kind of worse than they were, Phaedra being the notable exception, than last season. But I mean, Traitors this season have been like, oh yeah, Dan, Parvati, hold my beer. We're going to get into that. Somehow you got caught up in this whole kerfluffle, which I was sad to see. But what was it like? I mean, when did you know, obviously, you were going on? What was it like entering the game the way that you did? And is this the first time that you've been put in a cage by someone other than your parents?
I'll tell you what, that's where you want me, is in a cage in your backyard. That is what you want. You would want that, nothing more. You would want your little squirrels dancing around me in a cage. You come out and you feed me a little barbecue every now and again. Oh, my sweet little Ginger. I'm so glad you're trapped as my pet in my backyard. Gosh, dang, that is your dream situation. Is me strapped up into your tree in the backyard.
I would rather, you know what? Next to starting next to having like my own OnlyFans, I think that is like the next big, dream that I have.
Yeah. Well, people think that I'm joking, and we're really just not. Okay. So to answer your question, I was asked early-ish in the process, and I told them, no, I couldn't make the dates, is what it boiled down to, because I was filming my business show, which is a week-long entrepreneurship boot camp.
Congrats on that, by the way.
Yes, thank you. It's doing very well, and it's a lot of fun, and it's changing people's lives, and it's very effective. But those, because of I have to book those very, very long in advance, and so when I heard the dates, it was incredibly disappointing, because I obviously everyone wants to do the Traitors, so I told them no, and then like 2 weeks later they text back and were like, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, still can't do it. And then they wrote again, and I was like, no, still can't do it. But then I threw like a Hail Mary, and I said, well, what if I come late? And then immediately we started talking about what that would look like and what the details are. And so, to a certain extent, and so that's what happened. So then I knew that I was going to be showing up late, going basically straight from my business show to Scotland, and that I was going to be some sort unveiled in some capacity. Then fast forward to when the drapes are unveiled, and I look over to my left, to my right, and I see, a legend from both Big Brother and Survivor, and
and that was the first time that you guys didn't have an opportunity to see each other before. The first when they whipped those veils off, that was the first time you saw who the other two were going to be.
Correct. So the Traitors production company does such a good job. Like when they want to keep a secret, they keep that secret, right?
Oh, I know.
So there wasn't much, but correct. Like you're in the cage is draped, and you're in a cloak. And so, and so it was at that we literally found out in the middle of what had to have been 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, pitch dark, cold, and you look to your left and your right, and you're like, oh man, this is so real right now.
This is fucking real. Do you think you had maybe like an unfair advantage over the other guys when you showed up and you had the cloak over your head because you're so used to having to wear a bag over your head?
Yeah, it just felt like home. I was just so used to just covering my stupid, ugly face.
That's mean. That's not what I meant. I meant like, Halloween and stuff, because I know you like to celebrate Halloween 24/7.
Well, okay, so and then okay, let's talk about this just a little bit more. So not only is there the obvious, like, okay, the Cage Boys, one of them is, and that theory obviously is true, but then what we also miss out on is when you get to meet the other cast members and hang around in the castle and for a handful of more than enough time, and you trust everybody because no one's been assigned to be a traitor yet, you get to kind of like make friends. And that's what happened. I walked into this thing, and there was the Bambi Alliance and the Survivor Union and all this and other stuff. And then all of a sudden, bam, like and you know how we treat people that come in late on the
Yes,
challenge? We
absolutely.
immediately and even though we do it, as almost like a rite of passage, they did it naturally. And so like it was, and I knew it going in. I know what we've done for 20 years to people that come in late. So I knew what time it was, and it was either come in late with that disadvantage or don't come at all. And I was perfectly fine with the whole setup. And
It's a lot, man. Like walking onto a show where you know absolutely no one, coming from the challenge, like we go on season after season, there's always new people, but by and large, you're going to know 25, potentially 50% of the people there. And yeah, again, in a game that's all about strategy and it's all about making alliances and it's about making connections. It's tough. And I don't know if you noticed this too, but I do feel like the egos are a bit different on this show as well, just based on who's there. So there
like
is
in general, like the celebrities on Traitors in general, not just my season.
Not just your season, just in general. I do feel like there's this standoffishness because there's people who's people who are kind of throwing egos around. So was there anyone that you knew? A lot of times, obviously, going on the challenge, we know who's gonna. We have a good idea of the people who are gonna be there. Was there anyone going on this season that you were aware of that was going? Was there somebody that you hoped would be there, would not be there? Were you worried that like you were gonna have pre-existing beef with someone if they were?
Yeah. So, you've been a master of this over the last handful of years of taking people with of beef and kind of flipping it. And so I'd almost rather walk into a situation where I know someone but have beef with them. It's fixable. Like knowing the enemy is sometimes better than the unknown. And so the answer to your question is I had never met a single one of those people at all. I don't follow a single one of them on Instagram or vice versa. Like, on your season, you walked in with CT and Trishelle. And so like I had no other challengers. There was 4 survivors. There was multiple Big Brother players, which are normally there was actually 3 Big Brother people. Then all the housewives obviously have a clique, and I come in late, and it was very much so an uphill battle to kind of find some traction and where I fit in. And I made inroads for sure. And a lot of those inroads just kept getting murdered or banished. But let's put it this way. Let's show you how down bad I was. Is the one that Wells was the one that I was going to try and work with. And
he said the same thing. I just had him on. He said the exact same thing.
Well, I watched him on Worst Cooks to prepare for my season of Worst Cooks. That was the season that he was on with you, and I think he's really funny. And then I at the very least can say, oh yeah, we're both friends with Bananas. And I just did Worst Cooks. Nice to meet you. And so I was going to give him my shield that night as a good show of faith. And then so like basically my only plan to kind of get a guy was he was banished. He was banished 45 minutes after I got into the castle,
which is unreal to me because Wells is like such a nice, like apple pie kind of guy, dude. And so the fact that the heat came down on him, all seemingly based on the fact that he said that who was it that got murdered that he said was a stupid move? Who was Dorinda. Him saying that Dorinda being murdered was a stupid move, and
which
then
it was.
I agree. And then Robin somehow got all offended by that, and then that was what ended up. And that's what's so wild about this show. I mean, we'll get into it, but a similar thing happened to you, where something that is just such a seemingly just innocuous observation then ends up becoming basically your death warrant. Something that you just kind of, and that's the thing. Certain people have conversations. Dude, Tom Sandoval, this is what I think is so hilarious. This guy has thrown out more fucking theories. And I understand that's what's making him, I guess, so good at the game. I wouldn't even say it's good. I just feel like he's just lucking himself into where he's at.
Yeah.
But being so wrong all the time. I mean, right out of the gate, the guy walks out of the first, the round table when the traitors are chosen, goes up to 2 traitors, Danielle and Carolyn is like,
I trust you.
I trust you guys. I got a good read. I really think, like, how do you do that? Like, that is honestly one of the best moves you can possibly make, and he did it completely by accident. Throwing out all these random theories, it's like, even if at some point he was onto someone, it just gets lost in the sauce because he said so much stuff. It's almost like what Trump's doing right now in his administration. He's throwing out and he's citing so many different orders and laws and all shit. It's so much like you can't even focus on one thing because every day there's 27 different things to grab your attention. I feel like that's the way Tom's playing, and it's worked out
you
so
just
far for him.
compared Tom Sandoval to Donald Trump.
Their strategy is pretty similar. They've got very similar reality TV strategies.
Well, it just, it's funny. It's been funny the last couple of days having everyone on the internet. First off, the internet's response to like my exit speech and overall like what I was was very positive.
Yeah,
because the only feedback that I got was from people that I flipped off. I'd call them on the phone and they were like, "Yeah, I don't think that was very good." It's like, well, yeah, that's because I was calling you guys idiots. Yeah. The internet seemed to have loved it. We'll I'm sure get into that later. The internet though is like, "Oh, you should have done this. You should have done this," and it's like, I don't think that you quite understand how there's such a ridiculous balance of sometimes you need to be an idiot, sometimes you need to be a genius. There's so much luck, all this kind of stuff. So like everything that you're saying, every idea that I'm hearing could backfire.
Yes, or it could work.
Or could work. And so
it all depends on who it is that's doing it. It depends on the timing. It depends on who it's being said to. This is what annoyed me kind of about the situation that you fell into is it's like, I don't think a lot of people at the table during that banishment ceremony actually believed you were a traitor. I think there was a few people that were like, oh, well, you've been acting too aggressive. Therefore, that's why we're going to target you. And I'm just like, God, this is so fucking stupid. This is the definition of not playing a game strategically and playing emotionally. And honestly, dude, I think that is going to be what eventually seals Boston Rob's fate, is the fact that he's made so many decisions now emotionally. Oh, this person, I don't like this person. This person doesn't like me. This person's going to try and come after me. But it's like, it's like on the challenge. Yes, even though just because you don't like someone and can't stand to be around them, or they might want you gone, if they don't have the power to actually do that, sometimes it's more beneficial to keep someone around you don't necessarily like or who isn't necessarily on your side if they're not a threat to your game. And, I feel like that's the problem sometimes. You play an emotional game. You let your emotions cloud your judgment, your logic.
I don't want to use the word emotional for Rob. I want to use the word ego. And he had a proto, and by the way, he's fantastic and very likable. Like I'm friends with him. I don't like blame him for any of the way that this went down. He had a plan going into this. And from what my wife tells me, he had a similar, because my wife watches all of the Survivor shows. So she told me that he does something very similar in Survivor, where it's like there is no room for having someone that's even remotely going against you. And so as soon as you even usher that you're going after someone, he has unilateral power to kill him. So that's the code.
Okay,
that he
do you think it's a mistake though? Because yes, while that might work on Survivor and while that might work on Big Brother, that doesn't necessarily work.
No, I know,
and I think that's the big problem. I think that's the big problem.
That's how I clocked him. And it's crazy. Like you watch me trying to explain it to Sandoval and Chriselle and that in a scene a couple episodes ago. I in the roundtable explain exactly how it happens. It almost looked like the producers gave me footage of what he did and when he said it, and like it couldn't have been more perfect and spot on. And so
do you feel like because now the last two seasons we've seen multiple Survivor and Big Brother Traitors, and it seems like there's a couple things that I'm seeing that they're doing that is just fucking stupid. One, I feel like because they are these legends from their games, they feel like they have to be the ones that are constantly in charge and moving all the pieces and masterminding what's going on. Dan did it last season. Parvati did it to an extent, and now I feel like Rob and Danielle are doing it this season, okay? Where then you have Phaedra, and then you've got Carolyn, who aren't gamers, who really aren't doing anything. They're just kind of allowing the game to just play out, and they're the ones that don't have any heat on them. And I feel like unless it's being put there by somebody else, right? Unless it's one of the traitors that are calling them out, that are exposing them. And the reason they're exposing them is because their game is, because they're hiding in the shadows and their game's so flawless. And I felt like this with Dan last season, and to an extent with Rob this season, where Dan made very obvious moves, okay, that were easily traceable, like an MO, like a murderer that has an MO, easily traceable to a certain type of person. I'm going to go after all the alpha males, and that obviously, who's going to do that? Someone like Dan, who's the exact opposite of that. And by doing that, by continuing to have the same MO and continuing to then go after people who are coming after you, it's only a matter of time before it's traced back to you. And I feel like Rob's doing the same thing this season. Oh, Bob the drag queen said my name, 1 in 3 of the guys in cages. Let me take him out. Oh, Wes, mentioned, which I thought was very smart, what you said. That got back to him. Well, let me, take out Wes. And
isn't it crazy how that got back? So
yes, Ivar.
Yeah, Ivar. So they all acknowledge, okay, yeah, that was kind of a genius assertion. So why don't I just bring it right to the doorstep of the traitor, and let me see if I can't suss him out that way. It's like, this is the type of stuff that this is the type of people that I was playing with, and it was very frustrating, like incredibly frustrating. And I don't even know what to say with it, because you need to have, the only way to kill Gabby. By the way, let me give a compliment right now. I think that Gabby is one of the funniest women that I've ever met in my entire life. But her big argument against me in the roundtable, and she ended up voting in my, against Rob, so thank you. But she was like, "You're always trying to get numbers to come into the roundtable. There's only one way to kill traitors.
Yeah,
go into the roundtable with numbers. I have to have numbers to get rid of the people that are traitors like this." And so, yes,
Wes is like, "Have you never seen my game before? This is what I do. I show up and I get numbers."
Or have you never watched the Traitors before? Yeah. How else am I supposed to get a traitor? Do I hope that maybe they catch the flu and have to fly back to the United States or something? What am I supposed to be doing? And so as I'm trying to rally people, they're just, they were interpreting that as, something that it wasn't. And it's like, okay, well, I mean, this is what I'm working with.
But do you feel like maybe, okay, here's the thing. Guys like you and I, we're gonna come in and we are just gonna have targets on our backs just based on what we've done. This happens to you, it happens to me. Whether it's on TV, whether it's on social media, it's like no matter what we do, there are gonna be people that are like, I simply don't want this person around, not even necessarily because of their threat in the game, but because they're successful and I want what they have, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Which, to go off on a little tangent here, you said earlier, everyone wants to be on the show Traitors. Yes, everyone does. And I think the debate that needs to be put to rest here, not even the debate, but that keeps on being floated out. Oh my God, this person from the challenge would be great. This person from the challenge would be great. People, you got to understand, this isn't now like the challenge has become a feeder show. Or no, other shows become feeder shows for the challenge. The challenge isn't a feeder show for traitors, okay? There are a few of us, very select few of us, that have managed to break out of the challenge box and make it on traitors. And it's not just because of, the amount of time we've been on TV. It's about what we bring to the screen, and it's about the fact that our skill sets from the challenge will translate over onto this show. There are show carriers and there are role players. And what I'm saying is, yes, if you look at everyone that has been cast, you know what the common denominator is? They're all show creators. Okay. Yes. These are all people that can carry a show. These aren't people that need to react to what other people are doing in order to, I
think it's 25%. Are you going to be able to come out there and play the game well? And then 75%, have you stolen shows before, where entire storylines are made about you, because of your actions, just absolute proven drivers of the storylines. And there's a lot of people that you watch them and you're like, okay, yeah, that's really, really good gameplay, but you're on thin ice. The likelihood that you're even invited to the next challenge is low because you got zero airtime. Did you know that just me in montages on 40, I got more airtime than 2 cast members that were on 40?
Dude,
like, and
39 was the same for me. I wasn't there either, and I was one of the most talked about storylines on the entire season.
And on 40 this season, I mean, I don't know if you not enough people give you props, and you stole storyline there when we needed somebody to kind of drive the most. Like, the cast members are getting tired. It's 65-ish% of the way through the show, and then you just burn all these bridges with all your alliances, and you just start all these fights with Tori, and then you divide the house and you build a new alliance and all this kind of stuff. And I was sitting back just loving that part. You won my MVP of the episode, multiple episodes in a row.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, it was, and despite the fact that you're so old and tired and cooked, you really still clocked in, and I love that about, and it shows why you're invited to things like this.
Likewise, when I was asked on my original season, and this goes, and I know I make fun of you, or I did make fun of you about the other shows you've been on, but every time I do a show and they ask me who's the next person who would be fucking great for this, you're obviously the first one, because we share that same mindset, and we've done this in the past. Even when you and I were going back and forth, during our rivalry, there was still even though it's I wanted to get you, I understood how important you were to the show, and that you did things outside of the call of duty, and you kind of went above and beyond in order to drive storylines, create storylines, encourage storylines when you don't need to.
Our rivalry is not good gameplay, but you want to know what it is?
Great television.
Good television.
Yes.
And what I've been screaming from the rooftops to other cast members that are trying to do what we do.
Yes.
Yes, it's true. You got to try and win first place. I want you guys to have the prize money and the accolades and all that kind of stuff. But your priority when you step onto a television show is to be a cast member of the television show before the game. I could sit back and play the same game that Ivar is, that Sam is, that fill in the blank other people are that are sitting back and doing nothing. But I don't. And what I've tried to, I've screamed it from the rooftops. You will be on television longer, get paid more in total by stealing the show than you will by winning the show.
Go against the grain. Go against the grain. I give the same advice, but here's the thing, Wes, is there are so few people. How many people have you seen on the challenge that have literally been there for 2 or 3 episodes, but they fucking set it ablaze in the 3 episodes they're there? Versus people who have literally made it to and potentially even won a final who are never invited back.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's not about longevity. It's not about the time that you're there. It's about what you do and what you create with that time that you're there. And sometimes people coming on their first season, they're like, okay, yeah, they're trying to get a feel for it. But when I see people who've been on 5, 6, 7 seasons and they're still doing the same thing, laying in bed all day, going with the fucking flow. Oh, well, the numbers are going this way. Let me just get in that flock of pigeons and go the same way. It's no, man, be an eagle and fly alone, because you get lost in the sauce. Again, if you're doing what everyone else is doing, you're going with the numbers, you get lost in that storyline. What you have to do is go against the grain and show that you're willing and able to do something different, buck the trend, be a fucking maverick. But like you said, this is something that you can tell people to do till they're blue in the face, and some people just will never do it. And that's why some people will never break out of the mediocrity that they're stuck in. All right. I want to back up just a tad because it's kind of relevant to what happens this episode. The traitors obviously know who the traitors are. They take a traitor's oath. I am not going to out another traitor. I'm not going to say I know who another traitor is. I don't even understand the point of doing the oath anymore, because it seems like they just continue to fucking go against it. But so hold on. So So, and this is why I'm saying this, because I want to get your take on Rob's explanation for why he did what he did. After the stack up the fucking whatever, what was the challenge? You got to stack things on their heads or the stones?
You had to run these little statues up and put them together. Yeah.
Okay. Bob then basically makes this blanket statement. You know what it is. I think we should start looking at the 3 new guys that came in, because one of them is probably a traitor. Yep. Now, this could obviously be viewed a couple ways. One, I feel like everyone already assumed that. I think everyone already was thinking that. This isn't like new news. I just felt like this was Bob's way of just kind of, I don't know, just throwing some shit out there and giving people something to chew on.
Yes.
Rob then takes that as, he called me out. Okay. He's trying to target me. Therefore, I'm going to go after him. Do you think, because the other 2, Carolyn and Danielle, did not agree with this, they felt like he made this unilateral decision. Do you feel like he was justified in doing this? And do you feel like this was him actually believing that Bob was coming after his game? Or, going back to the thing you said about ego, do you feel like because Bob was kind of like steering the ship, and because he was kind of like the shiny object in the room, Rob's like, I need to get rid of this guy in order to, steal the show?
I think all the above. I want to say something how I play on the challenge when I've been able to. Secret alliances are a lot of fun, right? Mm-hmm. And if you can pull it off, it's an incredibly effective tool. And one of the things I tell people that are new in a secret alliance with me is to not only stay away from me, but occasionally, like once a week, go into a room with a group of people and say something mean about me. Say you don't trust me. Like purposely throw. Now, don't be too convincing, but
like pull your punches. Like don't knock me out, but yes. Hit me in the stomach. Don't punch me in the fucking face.
Send a jab my way when I'm not around. And in a perfect world, you can tell me you're about to do it or that you did it, and to kind of throw people off. And so that's how I would have personally taken that. I would have pulled him aside. I would have asked him about it. But I think that it was a little bit like Rob was not able to get what he wanted in the roundtable, was that they were not able to have a democratic kind of discussion. I think that Rob also knows, and Rob is like us to a certain extent, where he knows how to make better TV than game. Yep. He's got a very similar Roadrunner history to myself, where he has not actually done that well on Survivor, but yet he's stolen so much airtime. Like he's such a and so I think he knows that the most important scene of every single season of the challenge of Traitors is when the first traitor on traitor crime happens at the roundtable. And I think that was part of the motivation of, not only did Bob cross me, so I think that's a small one. Then also, I'm not getting any power in the turret, which is a medium-sized one. But the biggest of the 3 main motivators here is that it was going to steal the show, and it did. It had the cast members that were there, everyone except for me. You see me clock him right away, right? Because when you're at the bar, you know that was 5 minutes after the roundtable, and that's where I told those people. Yep. So I clocked it right away. That said, they were mesmerized. They thought that Rob was the second coming of Jesus. And I was like, okay, wait a second. That to me, it was just a giant red flag. And so the other thing that they show, they didn't get filmed, but they recorded it on our mics. So I'm so glad that they got this, and they showed it. We're walking down the hill to the cars to eventually get driven back to the castle. And you hear Rob tell me how mad he is at Bob the Drag Queen, all this kind of stuff. It made 0 sense why someone that's so chill and laid back, he was mad, like mad. And so it wasn't oh my God, I think Bob the Drag Queen's coming for the Cage Boys. It was legitimate anger towards Bob the Drag Queen that he told to me. And I, by the way, believe him. And I'm sort of okay with it, because for another reason that did not make camera, I've already clocked Bob the Drag Queen as a traitor. And I'm doing the Sandra strategy with Bob the Drag Queen of, I'm just trying to gas him up. I'm going up to Bob the Drag Queen all the time and complimenting him, telling him I'm going to vote in whichever way he wants. Like, I want Bob the Drag Queen to be my traitor angel.
Okay.
And so now I'm confused, and I don't want this to happen, because I've found the traitor. and now I'm starting to worry, and especially the way that the roundtable went back. I'm like, oh shoot, I now have a second traitor, which is Rob. And so
why not? So if you're looking for the traitor angel, which I feel like, again, after season 2, CT fucking did this masterfully. Like, he didn't know he was doing it, but with Phaedra, he had them protect, and then he found himself in a position where it's like, now you can't get rid of me because I'm the only guy left. And if you want to win money and win missions, so he found himself in a fucking great position. However,
Yep.
I feel like that is like such an important thing to do. If you find a traitor and and that traitor's not necessarily clocking you, dude, work with them. At least let them know. Like I said, look at what Tom did. Not knowing, he's done that. He's now got all the traitors off his scent. And
yeah,
wasn't this something that like when you and Rob had this chat? Wasn't that something that you could have said to him? Like, yeah, maybe he is, but maybe shouldn't we fucking leave him alone? That way he kind of like keeps an eye out for us.
Well, okay, so we had, how little time there is,
yes,
right?
Yes,
it's different than a lot of other shows in that sense, and so there was not enough time to have a coherent conversation with him and to process all this information before he went on this thing, and so that's neither here nor there, but Derek basically accelerated my plan there because I'm trying to decide right now over the course of the last episode and a half, do I make Rob my traitor angel or do we go after Rob? And Derek basically, I think rightfully, because I didn't know how much trouble I was actually in, but I think rightfully he pulled the trigger. It was a scotch early, but he kind of forced us into a position where we were going after Rob. And I think ultimately he made the right move as far as timing. I just wish that I had agreed with that timing just maybe 24 hours earlier, because I didn't do any politicking going into that roundtable because I was like, oh guys, screw it. I'm just going to lay out all my evidence. But instead, I really wish I had gotten, a person or two on my side and to hear my argument before I went in there. And so little did I know, Rob was kind of going around building up a little army to go after me in like a very normal way. And I was just walking into the round table kind of not even all that happy that we were about to be presenting this evidence. And I was just ill prepared.
So what led to this whole banishment and what led to all this is immediately after the Bob banishment, okay, and we alluded to this before, you're sitting talking to Ivar and Tom Sandoval.
And Chriselle.
And you obviously had this premonition where it's like, all right, how, and this was great. This is what I love to watch, because it's like, this is such a CT move where you leave a trail of breadcrumbs towards somebody who you want to potentially incriminate, but the name doesn't come out of your mouth. It comes out of somebody else's. And then guess what? They own it. You pin the blame on them. However, for whatever reason, even though the name came out of Tom's mouth, Ivar, for whatever reason, blames you. And here's the thing. What was his, what is this just like, I want to kiss the ring, like with Rob? Like, why did he immediately run to Rob and say, hey, your name is being thrown around and it's Wes, even though you didn't necessarily put his name out there? All you were doing was saying, I have this assumption, which everyone else has. Okay. Everyone else in the house has had assumptions too, but why was like you making this one little, observation? Why did that then turn into Rob's like, I've got to get rid of this guy, instead of just turning around and being like,
the answer is I don't know, but one theory for this that I've not seen anyone on the internet make. So here's an interesting theory for why Ivar did this. Do you remember back a few cycles ago when Bob the drag queen voted for Ivar?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that I've also voted for Ivar because I wanted to vote alongside the traitor. And so I threw my vote at Ivar knowing it wasn't going to stick. It was inconsequential. He had no friends, no alliances. So I knew it wasn't going to come back on me. And I was simultaneously going to suck up to the traitor. And so that's why that's why just Bob the drag queen and I voted for Ivar. And it was kind of, and so there's a chance that in the back of his head, Ivar's thinking, man, this guy voted against me alongside a traitor. And maybe that was what goes through Ivar's head is he's like, well, Bob the Drag Queen ended up being a traitor and I got a random vote for no reason from him. Who else voted for me for no reason? And it was me. And so I want to give Ivar a little bit of credit and to where and then a challenge.
So you felt like it was, so you almost feel like it was personal or he thought that you were coming after him at one point. This was his way of taking a shot back.
In the challenge world, we would have taken it as personal and we would have just thrown back. We almost wouldn't care if it was a traitor or faithful. We just want revenge on the vote.
Do you think Ivar now maybe Ivar's like, dude, you're right. Rob is a traitor. Let me suck up to him so now he can be my traitor angel?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't think that. I would be very surprised by that. But if think about it, if you got early on in the game 2 lone votes and you don't know why, and then you find out that one of those guys is a traitor, what would you think about the second guy?
Yeah.
So that might be what's going through his head. Either that. So I've now given him the intelligent argument because the other option here is that he's a freaking moron. Like to just walk right up to the traitor and tell him the best theory against him. Like that was just stupid.
Yeah, because I feel like once the first traitor goes down, okay, it's almost sort of better to like not, if you know who they are and you know you're kind of safe, to not go after them, only because you lose 1 or 2 more traitors, they're going to replace them. Then you have no fucking clue who it is. It could be anybody. Carolyn and Danielle, not happy, obviously, with Rob's decision to go after Bob. They now don't trust him. And now Danielle has taken it upon herself to be, her main mission is to get rid of Boston Rob. This is where I think her strategy is completely just fucking ridiculous. Instead of using Carolyn, who's the other traitor, who already doesn't trust Rob, instead of being like, all right, we both don't trust this guy, let's get rid of him, her plan is to first try and get rid of Carolyn on the off chance that Carolyn will be replaced by someone else, and then she'll be able to have that person help her get rid of Rob. Is it like, is this just too much? Like, that's what I'm saying. I'm like, why? You're trying to do too much when literally the plate is already set. Carolyn already doesn't trust him for getting rid of Bob. Why not just use her?
Yeah.
She goes along with everything you guys want to do.
I agree with you. I was just with her and I asked her this, so I have her answer, and it makes it make a little bit more sense. She cannot, in this moment of the game, wrap her head around how Carolyn and Rob aren't thick as thieves because of the survivor connection.
Okay.
And so in her head, she thinks, I'm going to go after Rob's pawn, which is Carolyn, and then that would weaken him, and then she can get him later with a little bit more ammunition. But what I think where she's a little misguided is that they're not thick as thieves. They are not working very well together. And if she knew that, she didn't. I think that Carolyn and Danielle at the second that you're talking about in the game are actually more on the same page.
Yes.
And sometimes we as smart players I know I'm guilty of this sometimes, overcomplicate things and add too many steps to our plan when really you just need to be thinking just really.
Dude, it just goes back to what I said earlier. It's like, man, this is, you are overcomplicating things. Again, there's parallels and comparison that can be drawn on the challenge. Sometimes trying to move too many pieces and trying to be in charge of everything that's going on. I also think, like you said, there is an ego thing attached as well, right? Because you bring these people in from Survivor and from Big Brother. They love to gas up their tires. Never the challenge people. Like what you said was 100% true. I've won more and I've been on more seasons and I've been on reality TV more than everyone in this room combined. Same with me when I was on. CT and Trishelle won the show. Yet they still don't give us our flowers, dude. It's never like, oh yeah, this is, whatever. Banana's been on 24 seasons, won 7 times. It's like, oh, this is Dan, who's been on fucking 2 seasons 10 years ago when he faked his own funeral and he's a legend. It's like, what? How the fuck? So I think them coming in, they already have this. They've been like built up as like these master manipulator game players. And they almost I feel like the pressure of having to go into every interview and be like, my plan worked out perfectly. I've got them exactly where I want them. Everything is falling into place. I've got control of the game. When instead, sometimes just sit the fuck back. All right. Hit cruise control. Let other people take the helm, make a bunch of decisions, and then you plot and wait for your time. That way, it's like the heat doesn't come back on you. Like, I don't know, man. I might just be like oversimplifying this, but I do feel like, and to me, it was very apparent in mostly Dan, Rob, and Danielle, where it's like they feel like because they have this reputation coming in that they have to like let the reputation precede themselves.
Yeah. There's a lot of truth to that. I actually just drank with Alan Cummings for hours alone this last week, and he wanted me to pass along a message to you.
Oh boy,
get over Dan.
Not happening. No shot. No shot. Absolutely not, man. Get over Dan. Are you kidding me? Wes, that's like saying get over fucking Sarah fucking Steele. No, man, once I'm betrayed by someone, once someone does me dirty.
I know. I'm the same way. But like, so listen, where I think we are in a really interesting spot is the Survivor and Big Brother players very much so look up to and are scared of challengers. Very much so. They get it. They get the reps. But then on the other side, so the other half of the house has freaking no idea who we are.
Yep.
And they don't give the challenge in general the credit that it deserves. So that means that we've got half the house being scared of us as these threats, and the other half of the house that don't have any idea who we are. And it makes for a really, really challenging dynamic because half the rooms you walk into, they're like, why are you even here? Half the rooms you walk into, they don't talk to you because they're literally scared of you. And it makes it tough to get traction.
I agree. Here's the other thing, though, that I think, and not to downplay our skill sets, but I don't think our skill sets necessarily lie in reading people, fucking hiding in shadows, doing all this shit. I'm like, we come from a competition show where a lot of the show is physical competition, eliminations, being athletic. Okay. Then obviously on top of that, yes, there's alliance building, but a lot of the moves that we make kind of have to be done out in the open. There's none of this like hiding in the shadows and all this secret shit. And that's why I feel like we're looked upon. And in some ways, it's kind of, it's kind of flattering to be like, oh, you think I'm that good at games like this? But at the same time, I'm like, guys, this ain't my fucking cup of tea, dude. The Survivor and Big Brother players, this is way more geared towards their strengths than ours.
Yeah. I would. I almost hate to admit that, but it's true. Our stuff doesn't
kind of nullifies everything. The rant I just went on a few minutes ago, but
it does. Well, let's put it this way: about half the stuff that you need to be able to do in a game like the Traitors, we are. It is apples to apples, and we are in fact better because we've got just an order of magnitude more reps than everybody else. But then the other half of the stuff. Is just not transferable enough. They walk around and are so much better at just kissing everybody's ass and we just don't need to do that. In fact, it's quite the opposite. You just look like a little pissant if you do that. And we walk around and just are just so much more, harsh with our words and
cutthroat. And that was the other thing I heard about this. And we'll get into this at the roundtable. Oh, you're being too aggressive. We're murdering people. The point of this game is to fucking murder people. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, and that's kind of the other thing. It's like, I kind of understand in a way. I actually was just on Jax Taylor's podcast, from obviously my season of House of Villains.
Yeah.
And it was like, he came into House of Villains where he's like, I'm going to fucking just out alpha everybody in the house and go into beast mode. And what it did is it terrified all the women in the house. They're like, this guy's way too aggressive. Get him the fuck out of here, right? And I even told him, like, dude, you got to dial it back a little bit, man. Like, I know you came in, like, but unless there's something that didn't make air, unless they didn't show it prior to your banishment, what were you doing and how were you acting that was so aggressive, dude? Like, I mean, I didn't see it. You sitting
Well,
here just
there's
trying to like move pieces and tell people what your,
yeah.
suspicions are.
Yeah, no, I did. And let's put it this way: if I was acting aggressive, that is fodder for a reality television show. They would have shown it.
It's like a
Like it's
1. It was a
yeah,
1 on like if we're doing this on like a challenge scale, it was a fucking 1.
there was one woman essentially that said that, right, and so that was her
Who?
rationale, Chriselle.
Chriselle, the same one that accused Ivar of when you guys were rowing the boat in the beginning, turning this into like a, man versus woman thing when it's just like, no, we should just, have the best odds of fucking rowing. Like, yeah.
I don't know. I wasn't even there, but so this is where the Chriselle stuff kind of got off the rails to give some context. But again, they don't show it because it's so inconsequential and kind of irrelevant. But so I spent my morning with Chriselle. I remember we talked about dream home. She's in real estate, right? So I was talking with her about real estate. All is like well and good and everything. And then that to me leads me to believe that like she's a person that I could work with. And so fast forward 4-ish, maybe 6 hours later, and we're preparing to go into the roundtable, and I'm like trying to get her opinion about like what we should do, like who are you going to vote for, or can I tell you who I'm going to vote for? Maybe we get on the same page and that kind of stuff. And she just she had the inability to add to that conversation, and I got a little frustrated. There's very little time, and so I lose a little patience. I don't like yell at her or anything, but I'm just like, are you gonna, do you have an idea? Do you want to do? I'm like, and I'm just asking these follow up questions, and then she'll pause and she'll like shake, and I'll be like, like what? And so it was, and then 5 minutes later in the roundtable, she says that I'm aggressive, but no one else used that word. And even though, and I will say, like, I am a little aggressive, so. But it's not like people were going around and voting me out because I'm quote unquote aggressive. She did, and so that's her opinion of it, and that's her interpretation. But this is also the same woman who voted out her best friend because she had a vibe change.
Okay, exactly. And this is okay. Again, going back to what we were saying before about Traitor Angels, this is why her vote and everything that she said made absolutely no sense. If Nikki is your friend, if this is a girl that you're like riding with, if this is like your homie, if this is like, the girl that you've gotten closest to in the house and she's a traitor, you know what you do?
Yeah.
Don't expose her for being a traitor because now your game is safe. Because if you guys are friends, she's never going to come after you. You're probably not going to get banished because I don't think anybody sees you as a threat. So if you're this certain, or you're not even this certain, you just think because of a reaction that she had, now with this girl, it's like, why not keep her around? If it's a friend of yours, you're protected. Like, am I missing something?
I don't think that we need to spend any time, diagnosing or helping Chriselle figure this out. One, I don't think she cares, but yeah, she's tied for last place as far as worst Traitors player of all time, and I'm counting all of the international spinoffs. So, like, it just is what it is. Like her, anything that she says and her opinions are kind of invalidated after some of the big mistakes that she made. But that's just it's a shame because like where I was apparently being aggressive with her was me like just trying to collaborate with her, and it got it at the very least was just misinterpreted. But it's also my responsibility to read the room, and if she needs me to beat around the bush more and be like pump her up full of compliments before I ask her a single hard question or whatever, that is my responsibility to learn that. And quite frankly, I just I didn't think that she needed that type of attention, and so I didn't give it to her.
The challenge, a lot of angles to this thing. Picking up the box, the crates, and there's 3 shields.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone basically just skips over. Everyone's trying to go for shields. I feel like this season, what they've done is they've made. I feel like in the one that I did, in the season that I did, they made it much easier for one person to get a shield without it being a whole fucking thing. Now I feel like the shields to get them are much chancier, right? you can't just be someone who's like, I'm going to go directly for a shield, because then you have a bunch of other people to factor in as well. I guess by design. Were you somebody that was super concerned and wanted to get a shield? And why didn't you kind of, I guess, jockey a little harder for it?
I did, but I mean, you're sitting all the people at this point, like you're on your season, there was like this big discussion about whether or not it's like greedy for someone like a Janelle to go get a shield, right? By our season, we, especially after Dorinda gets murdered because she was selfless / didn't know what was going on, we have stopped putting any shame at all on being selfish about wanting a shield, which meant I was with, I want to say there was like my team, if you will, was maybe 6 people. All 6 of us said, we want the thing that's in this box. And you have to run with the 6 people. So it's not like I could have sprinted ahead. You had to be kind of challenge final style within like several feet of everyone on the team. And so as you open up this box, you know, in shy of punching everybody in the face and wrestling it out of their hands, we had to paper rock scissors, and I lost the paper rock scissors because everyone wanted it equally, and not only that, we couldn't just sit around and like have this big vote and talk about it, because you still need to go to all the other boxes, get all the gunpowder, and do the point of the mission. So the quickest way to like amicably get an answer to that was rock paper scissors.
So it's obvious that even though Danielle had told Carolyn, I'm going to undo the damage that I did. I'm going to try and, you know, take people off of your scent, even though I've already put it out there. The damage has already been done. But she continues down that path, and not in a very subtle way either.
Well, what did she do this time?
So when she's in the car and and the 3 of them are sitting there, and she's trying to
is this the
Traitors
time that
left our Sierra and Nikki, and then but that the traitor has got to be a woman, and it's got to be someone that no one has looked at yet, which leaves Carolyn. So
and so did she say that this episode, or because like I think her argument was, I think her argument was that like, hey, like people like yes, I made a mistake and I threw your name out there in the priors, but if we want to start fresh, you know, anyone that is, because people are still going up to Carolyn saying that Danielle's saying her name, but they could have been referencing days ago, which is I think Danielle's big argument.
Yeah, she tells Dylan, and then she pulls who was Brittany aside as well, and tells her, it's gonna get back to Carolyn. I'm just saying, and I guess this goes back to my point that I was making earlier, of you've only got like, and after seeing what happened to Rob and how targeting Bob came back and put so much heat on him, you'd think it'd be like, all right, maybe I should not try and out another traitor, because what they're going to do is they're going to take me down with them. And that kind of seems like exactly what's going on right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like why expend so much of your political capital on trying to get out another traitor who isn't necessarily a threat to you? Because all you're doing is you're cutting short your time, and you're putting the heat's going to come on you eventually. The key is to keep it away from you as long as you can. And while you might get one over on the short term, you're wounded now, and it's only a matter of time before you die.
It's so easy to see how misguided that is as we're all watching it, right, with clear heads. But I just want to remind everybody how paranoid we are in this game. Like it is a game that breeds paranoia better and faster than anything I've ever seen. And you know, paranoia is like the equivalent of alcohol when it comes to your decision making. And you know, so I think that there's a little bit of like, it is clear as day to us right now that if you just collaborate well with the fellow traders, you have like this
protection,
unbridled like power and unilateral decision making. Like you could run train on that castle if you work together. But I think that once they saw what Rob did to Bob, they just couldn't get it out of their head that they all wanted to get rid of each other.
Yeah. Well, okay, and that's my point. It's like that's not something you factor in. Like, you're coming after early too. This is early in the game, man. This is not like down the line. And once you do that, once you prove that you're going to potentially that no one's safe, including the other traitors in the turret, there's supposed to be like this unspoken bond there. Once you do it to one, it's like I'd be thinking the same thing. I'm like, all right, you've already done this once. It's only a matter of time before you do it again.
Yep. I understand why they're paranoid. I sort of understand why they're coming at each other, but man, I would just be rocking the turret strategy so much differently. Like, I would rather just get on. I would rather just say, okay, listen, how about this? Like, the fill in the blank traitor, I'm going to let you get what you want tonight because I just want to be on your team. Like, if you feel like someone's on your back, let's murder them. And then tomorrow night in the turret, if I feel like someone's on my back, then you'll help me. And they weren't speaking collaboratively at all.
Yeah.
Now look, we got to talk about the dynamic though about this. All three of them in their own way are very smart. And four, if you add in Bob the drag queen, who's a incredibly smart person. But their four or three personalities do not jive in the least bit. And so Bob and Rob are two massive alphas. Danielle is a massive chess player, and Carolyn is playing a quite frankly, like, a very good, more laid back, kind of on paper good game.
She knows she's quirky too, and she uses that to her advantage. She almost like enhances the quirkiness.
Agreed. Well, what's crazy is she's actually dialing back the quirkiness, so that way she only appears just quirky. I just spent 3 days with her, and not on Traitors, and she's way quirkier in real life than she is in the castle. And that personality is a lot of fun. It's very authentic. I like being around it. But if you add that to the other personalities that are in that turret, it's not like her personality is helping turn this into a collaborative environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Because you never know. She reminds me of Robin, the way Robin used to be, where it's like, you never know from 1 minute to the next, like, where her head's at. It's almost like the last person that talked to her, that's kind of like the direction she's going to go. Ashley Mitchell as well.
I think that Carolyn has got an instinct for this type of game that she's probably never going to get the credit that she deserves for. And so I think she's more of a gamer than she. Let's put it this way: she's got a lot of the skill sets of anyone that's watched a bunch of seasons of Survivor, and she played Survivor and did really well. I believe she got 3rd place, but she didn't get the credit that like a Rob or a Parvati or a Michelle got, which means she doesn't have the ego. So she's got some of the reps without some of the ego, which actually means she's kind of playing.
It's like a Tim Duncan. In basketball. I mean, the guy's probably one of the greatest, power forward, centers, whatever position he played, but because he wasn't very outspoken over the top, you never hear about him.
Yeah.
And yeah, I agree. I think because she just kind of, now she's obviously sticking up for herself, and now she's really, fucking ratcheting up the heat. But before, she was just kind of like, I don't agree with that move, but let's just go ahead and, that's what you guys want to do. That's what we should do. And I think in a way, whether she was doing that by design or she actually didn't have a say, it's pretty brilliant because it like nobody suspects her. The only reason anyone suspects her now is because Danielle has put people onto her. Yeah. All right. So, the banishment ceremony, how worried were you going into this round table that did you know that there was a lot of numbers stacked up against you at this point? Did you think more numbers were going towards Rob? Like, what was your read going in?
I thought that I had more people, and there was people that voted against me that I thought were in my squad, and I had what I thought was a really good argument. Like, Derek's argument was a little different than mine, but very like we end up both being so right.
Can we talk just real quick? Can we just talk about Derek? Because before, Derek seems like the one that, like you said earlier, really gasses you up. This is the time we got to pull the trigger on Rob. Okay. Yeah. You were kind of like, maybe now's not the time. But then when he's approached by, I believe it was Brittany, and she's like, "Are you spearheading this mission to get rid of Rob?" Which he was. He basically says, "No, it's not me." And then you're left carrying the mantle where it's like, oh, then it all falls on you. Like you're the one, when it was actually Derek, it seemed like more than anyone that was leading the charge for him.
Yeah. Yeah, that really pissed Brittany off, and I didn't understand why he did that. Now, we find out at the end of this episode why he did that, which is he's very sure that Rob is a traitor, but right after that, he thinks that it's Brittany. And so what in his head, he doesn't want to tell the traitor's
other traitor
colleague what he's about to do. And he thinks that but where the misstep was is all that would have done is given Rob a 10-minute head start. We were about to walk into that roundtable, and instead we've now got Brittany, who feels blindsided by her friend. And so it kind of that part kind of backfired on him, and I didn't know what was happening. And whereas I just tell her the truth, I'm like, no, we're going after Rob. Here's a little bit of the arguments, and it kind of him not trusting her, but me trusting her ended up I get victimized, and then she votes against me, and it's a shame.
How many votes? And because I think, listen, man, and this happens to the best of us, but I will say, I believe your fatal error, and I think you know what I'm about to say, at the round table was when you gave your speech and you basically, not even subliminally, just outright threatened anyone that went against you, but it was the way that you did it made you kind of sound like a traitor. When you were like, anyone that votes, you were great up until this point. You were like, yes, I'm an aggressive player. I come from the challenge. This is the world that I live in. Anyone, and I only believe it's two that comes for me, I got my eye on you. And even though I knew you weren't a traitor, I'm like, to somebody who's sitting there on the fence, that really makes it sound like you're a traitor and you just slipped up. How many votes do you think that potentially sent your direction? Because that's what then, Sierra brought up, Chriselle brought up that now you've now threatened them, and that's why they're voting your way.
Yeah. It's tough. It's really, really tough to say. Obviously, okay. So a couple things here. One is I really wish that they had shown the 5-minute lead up to that. So notice how like on paper, what was Rob's argument that I'm a traitor? Let me cut to the chase. You're not going to find one. He didn't give it because they edited it out.
Got it.
So what his arguments is that I'm always making jokes. I'm always being funny. I had a custom suit made for Traitors, and I put Faithful got stitched into the collar. And so his argument that they edited out was that I was funny. I had Faithful stitched into my collar. And so towards the end of this thing, like we're running out of time, and I say to the entire roundtable, I go, okay, just to make sure that this is very, very clear, anyone who votes for me is doing so because I'm the funniest person here. That's the only argument that I've heard. And then you see they smile and they're quiet, and I'm like, okay, so there's, just to make sure this is clear, no one has a single argument against me other than the fact that I'm funnier than you all. And I'm like, I'm joking, I'm bantering. And they literally are quiet. No one's got a single thing to say because no one has yet mounted anything. At which point I say, okay, so therefore I didn't do the thing that's like a joke threat. And obviously I wish I could take it back. And I didn't, because
they didn't take it. I mean, that's what I'm saying is you have someone like Chriselle who's already on the fence.
She was going to vote for me. She was going to vote for me anyway.
But someone like her that's already calling you aggressive, and then you basically threaten them. I mean, got to read the room.
I think that there should have been more reading of the room. I would be. I'm telling you right now, like the votes that I got against me were coming regardless. So Sam just doesn't like me because I am a lot smarter and better than he is. I think I've already explained. I think that he thinks that I'm a traitor / he wants to work with Rob. Dylan is a giant fan of Rob. Brittany told me this week she was going after me regardless. She was mad that Derek lied to him or lied to her, and that she thinks that I'm a really big threat. And the fifth one here is Chriselle, which we've already discussed. So like not one of them. And I saw some of them this week, and I asked them, and I'm like, was it the threat? And a couple of them didn't even remember the threat until we watched it on the thing. So it was in a string of jokes, and it felt like it got taken out of context just a little bit.
Do you think though they were looking for something to take you out of context? Because I feel like if anyone else said that, they were just looking for a justification to do it.
Yes, 100%. I mean,
you gave it to them.
I helped them with that, but I'm telling you, wasn't. I think that they didn't care if I was a traitor or not. There was just a number of them that were scared that a person that is in there that has skill sets like what you and I have is too dangerous to have around.
Or a simpler explanation, they just didn't like you and they were looking for a reason to banish you. I've been there.
I'm way too likable.
Your exit speech was, I think, fantastic. I'm one of the greatest reality television competitors of all time. Quantitatively, I'm better than every one of you here. How you win these shows is you are more aggressive and you play hard. Very true. I wanted nothing more than to come here and be a traitor because I don't care about any of you. You're all chess pieces on the board. And to all those people who have died, until I got to this circle right here, I have no idea who killed you because I'm a faithful. Fuck all you guys. Great speech. Is there anything you would like to add or take away from that if you had to do it again?
No. I left that thinking like, man, that was awesome. And then I have no way to tell for like, I don't know, it's been, what do you think, 5-6 months? So I have no way to tell. So I've asked a few of them, subsequently, hey, was that as badass as it felt? And they were all like, no, because they're the victims of that speech.
Yeah, they're not going to be like, oh yeah, you shit all over me, man. That was great.
No. And so they were like, nah, I don't think we didn't like it. And it really justified our votes and all that kind of stuff. And it made all the people that, had just made a stupid mistake. It gave them a reason to not feel like idiots. And so that's how they interpreted that speech. But the reality of it is they deserved to be talked to like that. They have now, because we are now further into the game than any other season of the Traitors on any of the spinoffs to ever not get a single traitor, because we don't get to count Bob the drag queen because a traitor got Bob the drag queen. And so we are now the worst group of faithfuls that there could possibly be. And two guys just presented the exact evidence of read this guy's fucking game perfectly, presented it on the silver platter, and then they just voted off of just.
And that's what I'm saying. So what is that? Like, that's what I'm saying. Do you think that people are that afraid of Boston Rob where they were like, even though we know and all of the sirens are going off, that we just still aren't going to say this guy's name?
Can you when you're there and you're playing the challenge, and you know that people fall into one of three categories, right? They're never going to work with you and they kind of dislike you or they don't trust you. Then another category is like, yo, you guys are really jiving and it's working, and you're probably going to be friends outside of this, and there could be a professional relationship. And then there's like the middle ground where it could go either way. You could or should put some more work into it, right? And everyone falls into those categories. Well, Rob has unilateral power to every single night kill people that don't fall into the Rob camp. And so like all the people, the guy that I gave a shield to, the people that I'm working with, all this kind of stuff, he is basically the housewives who think for themselves. Like they might not have any reps as games, but they're not sheep. And so like he's killing the non-sheep is what it boils down to, because he wants to keep the people that are in his camp. And so like, is he good? Let me rephrase. Is he great? And the answer is yes, he is. But it's not like I had some sort of a fair battle. If he has been able to, for the last 5 cycles, murder all the people that were in my squad that would have been voting alongside me after that coherent argument has been laid. And instead he's just keeping all, and so it's unfair. He's cultivating the herd, which is exactly what he's supposed to do. Like this, like he won fair and square. He beat me, he ousted me. And I just don't feel an ounce of bitterness to him at all. Like not at all. I would love to go grab a beer with him right now and give him a high five. Like he bested me by using all of the tools. And it's just, but let's call a spade a spade. We didn't walk into some court of law with 12 juries that have never met either of him or I, and that he made some better argument than me, and that I'm this idiot that did the threat thing. No, he he picked his squad and then murdered the rest. And then how am I, so that's,
yeah. Well,
it's
it's almost, you know what it is? It's like at the end of Gladiator. It's like when Russell Crowe goes in to fight fucking Joaquin Phoenix, but he stabs him before he goes in. So he was entering like this battle with a disadvantage. Yep. You're right, dude. Being a traitor, you have a clear advantage. Even if people are like, oh, he might be, it's like, I don't want to cover him because this guy's fucking ruthless and I'm going to be the next one dead if we don't get him. That's a scary proposition, dude.
Yeah. But he did a fantastic job. But you want to know what else he said that people seem to be not remembering? Rob goes in the beginning of his speech, Wes has said that there are 3 traitors, and then he names 3 people that I'm currently kind of calling out. He said,
"Yep, Danielle,
and Carolyn."
Yep.
And so it's like, okay, all right, well, I'll take that.
Yeah.
I
was wondering where he was going with that. It was actually pretty impressive. He goes, there's 3 people that have been that whose names have been said. Carolyn, Danielle, me, and then he goes, and they all came from Wes. And I was like, oh shit, that's a redirect.
Yeah, it is a redirect, but it at least put it on paper that I have clocked every single one of the traitors.
All right. The turret, it was fucking great TV, but what a goddamn dumpster fire clusterfuck they have found themselves in. Where do you go from here, dude? I mean, this is
one of them needs to fire.
This is messier than last season when Phaedra fucking clocked Dan and confronted him, because now it's everybody shooting at everybody. Yeah. Okay, the votes, the way that they went. Obviously, Carolyn is pissed at Danielle, so she's gonna say her name. But Danielle voting for Rob, that just, I don't know, man. To me, just didn't make sense.
Yeah, I think she saw her shot. I think she thought she read, because quite frankly, before they read the votes, I don't remember how many people were there, but I thought it was going to be like 10-1 or 10-2. I think Rob was going to vote for me, and then one idiot was going to vote for me. I read the room as it was a slaughter. That's why, to me, the threat was classified as a joke, because I thought in that moment we literally were all just laughing and celebrating together. Yeah. I thought I had all of them, quite frankly. And Brittany I was in her Jeep every single day. Carolyn I was in her Jeep every single day. We were all on the same page. Dylan, I knew he was with Rob to a certain extent, but him and I were thick as thieves. And so
what about Sierra? Well, because she was a vote against you. And it sounds she said that she changed her vote because you threatened her.
Well, that one was also a weird one, because I saved her in the coffin arguments, because half the people were going after Sierra, half the people were going after Nikki. And I'm one of the main reasons why Nikki got voted out instead. And so it's I was working with her and all this stuff. And so I don't really know. And I saw her the other day too, for a few minutes, and she's sweet, but she didn't have an answer for it about why she did what she did. And let's put it that way.
To be fair, I know Carolyn is fired up at Danielle. Danielle's pissed at Carolyn. Rob seems to be shocked, but when you combine 6 seasons of Survivor, 2 seasons of Amazing Race, 1 season of Deal or No Deal Island, 23 years of reality television, you can't be surprised by this behavior. This is what's going to happen, and I guess that's probably the reason they picked the traitors the way that they do, is because they are all gamers, and because they know at some point they're going to, even if they know it's not necessarily in the betterment of their game, it's going to make things more difficult. I mean, a tiger doesn't change its stripes. They know this is going to happen.
I don't know. It is I man, sometimes though it is really fun to say fuck it. My game is over. I'm
Yep.
just going to be unabashedly messy because I am more petty than I am competitive.
Okay, and who's in that mindset right now? All of them?
All of them.
Yeah.
But I mean, all of them. And I mean, because what they're doing is obviously not great gameplay. But sometimes, I mean, at the heart of good entertainment on reality television is pettiness. And so, like, you can never lose your pettiness chip on the shoulder.
I'm walking proof of that.
Listen, I flipped off the entire castle. I mean, it's like I called them. You know, like that pettiness is you know, it's a hallmark of a good reality star.
Man, well, Bergie, God damn it, I hate to see you go, but at least you went. I think you went out this way with your head held a little bit higher than you did with on House of Villains with Jesse.
I don't know. I kind of don't. I somewhat agree. I see why you say that, but like, I don't take back how
I'm
House of Villains
saying
ended.
you walked out of here a little bit bigger balls and your tail kind of not in between your legs the way it went down on House of Villains. Like you listen, you went down swinging on this one. I feel like on that one you went down like, you know, kind of
The only
not
way
swinging.
and how the point is though with the House of Villains, the only thing I could possibly do was to do what I did. That was the swinging. And so, you know, I think that I always laugh when people try and bring that up as if it's some sort of a knock, and it's all people that are really unsuccessful. Like, how insecure do you have to be to think that it's a big deal to fake beg on a fake reality show for $200,000? People take themselves way too seriously, and it just like I don't know. Like, it's just, to me, I'm just incredibly secure with myself and know that I'm there to make a good show, and so that's that.
Well, and we have a fan question / comment that kind of echoes exactly what you just said. Jeff L says, 2 questions. In hindsight, on Traitors, would you have done anything differently? And House of Villains, why can't the audience realize he was never getting the money and win from Mr. Peck? He had to beg for the sake of making a TV show.
Yeah, very much so. Well, thank you for that Twitter comment. That's very true. Let me ask you this quick question though. If the roles were reversed and I got and Mr. Peck, as we're calling him, is tied for first with Safari, and I'm the tie-breaking vote, and I make him get down on his knees, would that have been as viral and as big of a moment?
No.
And you want to know why?
Because
he's a loser and I'm a winner. So like that's the point. Like that is and every time I ask that question to people, it's always the same answer. The reason why why it's viral is because I am rich and famous and successful and happy and healthy and have it all. And if I was a loser, then it just wouldn't have been, no one would have cared. And so it's like they want to watch the mighty fall. And so therefore, if you think it's a big deal that I begged, all you're doing is acknowledging that I'm mighty. So it's like,
listen, it's the same reason. It's the same reason you don't reply to trolls on Twitter, to cast members who don't have 1/1000th of the clout that you do, or exes that are just trying to use you to get attention for that exact same reason. Okay. Because if the roles were reversed, no one would give a shit. If they say shit to you, guess what? Nobody cares. It's when you respond, that's when it catches fire. And that's when it actually gets attention. You're the key. You're the key to that. They are not.
Yeah. So if I had done that to literally anyone else in that cast, no one would have cared, because they're like, okay, he played the best game. He is the best. He's got the most going for him. Yada, yada, yada. And then, you know,
Keith Hillebrand wants to know, is Traitors the hardest show you've ever been on? And how, you know, compared to the challenge on the shows, is Traitors the hardest show that you've ever been on?
The answer is no. But I hope cast members that have not been on Traitors. First off, if you get a call to go on Traitors, you need to go. It's a fantastic experience. It's going to go down as one of my favorite television experiences of all time, and it's a great show. Like, you have to do it. But it's hard days back to back to back. Like, you get up early in the morning, you're there late, and the game induces a lot of paranoia, and it is hard. And I wasn't even a traitor. Can you imagine if everything that I just described would have been 2, if not 3 hours harder every single day? Because like it was, it just is what it is. Like they're 14, 15, 16-hour days. And so, but they're more like 18-hour days if you're a traitor, ending with the most important scene of the night. So yeah, it is a hard show. But I'm not going to do anything that's easy.
Matthew Prusky wants to know, fuck, marry, kill between your 3 daddies. Me, Mr. Pectacular, and Boston Rob.
I would kill Mr. Peck.
Okay.
Fuck Boston Rob, because he's obviously got a lot more momentum, more rhythm than you, and I'd marry you.
Woo! Wifey. You know what? I've always said I'm always going to be a bridesmaid, never a bride, until now. Who would have thought?
You go.
Who would have thought it'd be you?
Because I feel bad for you. And every time people play that game, you get killed so often. I feel bad.
Dude, and I got rhythm, all right? I could bring it. Well, 6.5 of cold steel, bro. Like, what are we talking about here?
Yeah, I feel bad. You get murdered way too often.
Thanks. Yeah, and fucking karma shit all over me too. Who was the worst traitor in your opinion between the last 2 seasons? And would you have accepted the invitation to become a traitor on the night before?
I think Dan really shit the bed as probably the worst traitor that we've seen. I want to go on record and say that
I'll co-sign that.
I want to go on record and say that that Danielle is better than she's getting credit for. I just want it on the record. Like, I see the mistakes that she's making. I acknowledge them. From our couch, it's really easy. But quantitatively, she's gotten no votes. So she's not as bad as people are making it seem. So I want to throw that out. But the answer to your question is, I'd say it's Dan. I can see why he murdered you, but I think it was wrong. Guys like you and I, we're going to get banished. It just is what it is. So don't do the work for us. And instead, like, you should probably be killing wallpaper faithfuls would be a little bit more my strategy. But in his head, he was just scared of you. Like, let's be real. He knew exactly who you were. All Big Brother and Survivor players know exactly who we are, and they are jealous of us. And so that led, that's why you got killed. And then the second part of the question is, of course I would accept in whatever invitation required. Of course I would be a traitor. I assumed I was going to be a traitor. Like I was born for that role, but I can now see why I wasn't. Like, that's almost what's funny about it, is watching such a natural born traitor have to put on his cape and like save the faithfuls is funnier than watching me in the spot that I would thrive in.
Who is, I guess, messier, more clueless, a bigger dysfunctional bunch? Frozen like Alex wants to know. This season of the faithfuls on this season of Traitors, or the jury who voted Safari to win on House of Villains?
I mean, they're both definitely a frustrating group of people to work with. I think that I want to give credit where credit is due. Safari played a masterful social game, and he doesn't do that on purpose. He's just really freaking likable. Like, you know how much I like him.
He's a good
right?
dude. Yeah.
And so I as much as I appreciate the narrative that like I crushed everybody's souls in that game, and strategically I did, but I think that in the process of people saying that and spinning the narrative in that way, they're taking credit away from the fact that Safari was just incredibly likable. And I'll never be able to beat like you or Safari, and there's others that are like that in just the social game portion. Now, I also want to spin the narrative. I'm not disliked in House of Villains or in Traitors. I've got plenty of friends. Everything's going just fine. And like, trust me, I would be voted out immediately and all that stuff. So like it both can be true at the same time. I am not like as good at that exact portion as like you and Safari, but I'm only like 1 or 2 letter grades worse. I'm not an F. I'm like a B minus. It's just, I'm a little, I'm just not constantly talking and constantly joking. My jokes are a little bit more dry, but I make up for that in other ways that are smart socially. I connect on a deeper, more mature level.
I will agree. You and CT have similar. It's different but similar. CT will just say a whole bunch of stuff that makes absolutely no sense and throw a bunch of fluff out there, just talk in circles for 10 minutes. And after he's done talking, you're like, what the fuck did you just say?
Yep.
You have a way of putting things that sound so intelligent and so eloquent, and you apply data and fucking string theory and quantum physics and metrics and percentages that after it's like, I don't know what any of that stuff means, but it sounds legit.
Anyway, I think that the internet just needs to calibrate there, because like I am acknowledging, and I'll never be like, because you and Safari are prime examples of A pluses, right? Like you could walk into any party regardless of the age, the type of music, nothing, and just fit right in immediately. And I wouldn't. But I have the ability to form deeper, more mature connections and relationships than you do with them, because I care about them a little bit more than you.
And you know what? If they were ever, and you know what, to throw it back your way, a compliment back your way, if they were ever going to replace the Lucky Charms character, fucking you'd be a shoo-in. I probably would not even be the third option. Or the guy in the fish sticks box, the Gordon's fisherman, probably wouldn't even be in the running for that one.
I don't even know who the
throw Gordon's a beanie on you. Yeah, the guy in the box with the fucking beanie.
I'm sorry, I don't get fish sticks out of the frozen food section.
You just have a fish stick dick. Okay, well, listen, Wes, I just want to say, thank you for coming on, dude. It's so fun. Again, I've competed with you on the challenge for so long, knowing like what you're all about and like how you play the game. And I just love seeing like that and you perform and do your thing in other environments with other people. And again, I just think that sometimes, like, you know, the world just isn't ready. So in some ways, I just don't think the world is ready for what we bring to the table.
Okay, you and I are more poised, though, to go back and do these types of games again than anyone else, because we've got all of that challenge experience, but now we've got House of Villains and Traitors and all this kind of stuff. So what I had going against me is I filmed all of that and I had not seen any of it. So I have no idea. I don't have any of the, I don't get to do any of the after talks or diagnose my game or anything along those lines. I just filmed it all back to back to back. And so now I've got a better idea of what aspects of the challenge really, really, really well translate and which aspects don't, and where I need to kind of calibrate. So, all I would say is if I ever get a shot at let's say House of Villains season 4, I'm coming for you.
There's no other way to do it. Or if we're ever on Traitors, I'm sorry, but there is not enough room in the castle for both of us. There is not.
I'm sorry. If I ever do Traitors again, I'm going to just be too busy saving everybody.
We're not working together. For anyone out there, if Wes and I show up on a screen together, we hate each other and we are going after each other. We're going to be in a, even if we say we're not, we are. So, all right. Well, listen, dude, again, I appreciate you coming on. It's great watching you this season. Gone too soon. I know we're not going to see you on the challenge anytime soon, but if we do, that would be great. Before I let you go,
on that note, when am I going to get apologies from all the cast members who said that I wasn't retired?
Well, because, dude, like forever retired, or like you're going to come out of retirement at some point?
I mean, how long do I have to wait though before like they take it? Because
are you now just holding out? Are you now just holding out, like just so you?
At this point, it's now purely based on stubbornness.
So you think so? Kind of like what Devin's doing with Michelle, where he's just like, I'm gonna just to prove Bananas wrong. I'm gonna pretend like I'm actually want to stay in this relationship.
Hey, listen, there's different forms of love, and if that's theirs, then so be it.
Love is despite they have a mutual, disdain for me, and that's what keeps people together. It's what keeps alliances together on the show. A mutual disdain for me. Alliances are created and stick together just to go against me.
I will say though that obviously I got to put it on the record. I am very sure that they're very much so in love, and it's a very good relationship.
Oh, your voice just cracked. Your voice just cracked right now. First time your voice cracked the entire. So that must mean you are serious about that. All right. Anyways, Wes,
you've put yourself in a position where unless they get married and end up on rocking chairs when they're 90 together, no matter what, you're gonna be right. It's just a matter of time,
and that's probably why he won't let her come on my podcast.
He should.
I know. That's what I said. It's ridiculous.
Well, first off, she will do whatever she wants to do, so he's not like blocking this.
Yeah. Yes, he is, dude. I'm telling you. I heard it from the horse's mouth. All right. Anyways,
I thought I heard her on your podcast this season.
No, different person. Must have been different season. Anyways, the Blocks is out now. If people want to watch that, if people want to participate, how do they do it?
You can watch it you search for The Blocks on Amazon Prime Video, or it's on our website and on our mobile apps. There's lots of links all over my stuff. I've also got Worst Cooks. I believe the season finale that I am in airs tonight. I think it's the season finale. And why I'm confused is because I think that it might be a 2 episodes one tonight. So yeah, the Worst Cooks is an experience that, oh my God, I would pay to do that again.
It was fun,
like
dude. It was
that
fun.
was such a good experience, and it has been really fun to watch back. It doesn't make for a good show to do podcasts about or to recap or anything.
Yeah.
But it's a cute watch, and it's like and it was such a fantastic experience. If you get a call for Traitors, immediately go. If you get a call for Worst Cooks, immediately go. If you get a call for House of Villains, ask a lot of questions.
Oh, dude. All right. And for those who aren't following you already, where can they find you on social media?
At Weston Bergmann.
With like 2 N's or something, right?
With 2 N's, but they already all follow me.
Fucking why not, dude? All right. Well, listen. Yeah. Bergie, love you, brother. Thank you for stopping by the Death, Taxes, and Bananas podcast, where the tea flows like wine and my guests instinctively flock like the salmon of Capistrano. I am Oprah, and I love you.
Bye.